Let's go.
Dr. Rosie Milligan, one of the most sought-after speakers on the circuit today. Her live internet talk show, Express Yourself, is the most provocative, thought-provoking, and talked-about radio show on the internet. There's no holds barred, and Dr. Milligan puts the B in bold. She brings it every Tuesday live at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Rosie has been proclaimed the most provocative female writer of the century. Her books include Satisfying the Black Man and Black Woman Sexually Made Simple, Why Black Men Choose White Women, and the book Nigga Please. These books have raised eyebrows across the country. She has authored 21 books and published 350 titles for authors nationwide. Check Dr. Rosie out at drrosie.com for her books, articles, and archives of her internet talk show. Sit at the feet of wisdom. Dr. Milligan is indeed a timekeeper and scorekeeper. She is the clock, calendar, and almanac for Black America. You need to hear her.
Top of the morning in sunny California. You'll listen to the Express Yourself Hour. I am your host, Dr. Rosie Milligan, coming to you live. You know how we do it around here, folks. Nothing but straight talk up in here. My co-hosts are today. I have two. I have three. I think two is on. The first one is Mr. Keith Swanson. He's the AI man. You all been looking for him, but he is really real, you guys. He's going to be on that floor at Black Writers on Tour plus Business plus Tech Expo. He's going to be there April 26th. That's on a Saturday from 10 to 3. Folks, if you catch him, hold him. Let me know you got him. You got a reward coming for Keith. Keith, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well.
Good,
the sun's
good.
shining. I'm breathing air, and I'm not in an orange jumpsuit right now, so I'm good.
Well, all right. Well, you're doing good. You're doing good. Okay. My other co-host is Shawana Borden-Nay, and I think she's probably out selling real estate. I don't see her on yet. She'll probably jump on.
Shaking her
And
money
Mr.
maker.
Ricky Davis, Mr. Ricky was on. Looked like he got dropped. I don't know what's going on, but however, I know he will be coming back on here because he's one of my co-hosts, you know. So we're going to move this train right along. We have an awesome show for you today. And my guest, well, let me tell you what we're going to talk about first. Well, our topic, we're talking about the powerful nuggets for moving forward after the death of a loved one. Look, death doesn't ask permission. It doesn't
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging.
Come peacefully. Whether it arrived through natural causes or through sudden, unexpected tragedy, it leaves behind a storm of unanswered questions, deep pain, and a void that feels impossible to fill. Well, my guest today, you guys, wow, she is so awesome. And the conversation we're going to have with Miss Shirley Smith, a woman of wisdom, faith, and lived experience. Shirley isn't just a licensed realtor and seminar leader. She has walked through the fire of grief and came out with golden nuggets to share with us. And she's going to reveal many things to us. And we're going to look at how you begin again. When your heart has been shattered, your faith tested, and your life has been turned upside down. My guest today is none other than Miss Shirley Smith, realtor, BS, degree in divinity, group leader at Fuller's Theological Seminary, and author of the book, Life After Death. Good morning, Ms. Smith. How are you?
Well, good morning to everyone, and thank you so much. I think I'm going to cry after that introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you, and I know you're going to be with us, folks. She's going to be with us. Yes. She's going to be there on that floor on the 26th, and I'm telling you, this is going to be an awful experience, and you want to make sure you get there. You want to be in the house. This is one time, folks, you want to be in the house. So, Miss Shirley, tell us, what moved you to write this book? Let the audience know a little bit about, and then we're going to ask you some questions how to get through this thing. This is tough, and do you ever get through? Oh, so just give us a little bit about what brought you to the point to write this book, Life After Death. Is there life after death? Let's
Well,
talk about that.
a number of things came to mind because I did lose my father in 1999, which was really hard. And then I lost my sister in 2012, my brother in 2013, my mother in 2016. And so after losing my whole family of origin, I started to think, what would happen after I go? Because I have 3 sons. And so life moves so quickly with us that we're so busy providing for that we don't take the time to tell even our own children who we are, what their forefathers accomplished for them. And I heard your podcast about parents protecting children. I've done real estate now, well, first in Georgia and then in California, and for several years. And what I have been seeing is that, especially within our race, people are having a hard time understanding the value of real estate. And so my forefathers and mothers left us land in Mississippi. They were able to leave other real estate matters for us. And so I decided that the only way to sometime get attention of our next generation is to write a book, because there's so much information that even if we try to give it out, it's too much to give out at one time. So the purpose of me writing the book was I had 3 things in mind. One, I wanted to make sure my children knew history of our family and what they did as civil rights leaders, as being in the Army, being unacknowledged for things that they did in the military that I'm just learning today. I also wanted to honor God, because after you go through valley after valley after valley, when you sit back and think about it, you find out that he was always with you and he was giving you wisdom and direction. And the next thing I wanted to do is to honor my family for what they had done and make sure I leave some history on the earth so that when I go, my children will have something to look back at. And considering what's going on today, where we're trying to hide history or not acknowledge history, we're trying to ban books, we're trying to do all of these things. It's like, if we don't write our own history, who is going to do that? And so those are the main reasons that I wrote the book. And so I did put in some nuggets, of course, at what people need to do to survive after losing their family. But a lot of that concerns some of the many things you guys talked about, like you need to have a will and trust in place before you leave this place. And so we do need to understand that as a race of people, things that we need to invest in and so on and so forth. But yes, that's the purpose of me writing the book, is the history, to honor God and to honor my family.
Okay. And you talk about the fact that after death, life after death, with having all these deaths. In fact, a friend of mine lost his mother, his brother, and his niece. So all he has left is one sister. So it's like his whole family was like wiped out within a 3-month period. You know, and that's a lot of grief, in particular when it happened with men, because they tend to not talk about it. They tend to sob in silence, and it takes a long time. I think it takes longer for men to get over this type of thing than women, because women cry, they talk about it. It's something that it's like brand new sometimes. You know, you think the wound has healed, and you wake up one day, it's like it just happened. And that's on the norm of death. And I can just imagine I can imagine what it would be like to lose someone in a tragic death, particularly a child, because the
Mhm.
parent begin to wonder, uh, they feel guilty that they were not there. What could I have
Mhm.
done? What
Mhm.
were they crying out for me? Can you imagine what goes through a parent's mind, particularly if
Mhm.
their child is being murdered? You wondering what was their last word? What was they thinking?
Yes.
And were they calling out for me and I didn't hear them and couldn't help them? So it
Mhm.
really needs to be more put into the grief process, because it has to be a very heavy situation. And our other co-host, Mr. Ricky David, I see that he has joined us. So it's critical for us to have these conversations about how do you move forward? How do you
Mhm.
move forward?
Mhm. Just thinking about going back a little bit to listening to your own podcast the other day, parents protecting their children. One of the things that I have learned is that the trauma that you go through when you lose someone, I actually did not want to talk to anybody about my family for 2 years. I just wanted to be by myself. I didn't want to talk to anybody. During all of the loss of my family of origin, I also lost a total of 15 other family members that I was really close to. So those were cousins, aunts, and uncles. And so when all of that is happening, it's a lot for people to start thinking about what direction do they go. And so if we want to talk about nuggets now, I can talk a little bit about some nuggets that, I
Yes.
found important. So
Okay.
one of the things that I suggest is, because you do go through trauma, get away. I believe in travel. So get away and do some traveling. But one of the things that I've learned is that you can be on a ship full of people or a group that you're going traveling with, and if you don't have a reason for being in a country, you're just there to sightsee, you may miss some things that God is directing you to. So when I go traveling, I like to go up to the old monasteries on the mountains, and I see things that we don't see in this country. I see things about Christianity that we don't see in this country. And so it's almost like God is saying, you have always wanted to know this, so ask me, why are you here? Why do you get to do this? So that's something we need to ask. I mean, I even asked the question about you, Dr. Rosie. Why am I
Okay.
meeting her? Why am I meeting her now? Because I was actually out just fishing around on the internet trying to find book conferences because I had released my book.
Mm-hmm.
But I now learned, be still and ask God a question. Why am I meeting her? My belief is that even when we're having valleys, God is transforming us to do what he needs us to do on the earth. And I notice your passion in your podcast, your passion for people learning about real estate and all those things. There's a reason why you have a passion like that. And sometimes I happen to agree with you on, yes, you should be doing some of this in church, but unfortunately we're not there yet. But one of the things that you can do is pay attention, and God will actually start giving you convictions, things that you really are passionate about. It's because that's the direction he needs you to go on the earth at the time. And so one of the things that I've learned is with my life, if I ask questions, with whether they're valleys or mountaintops, why am I here? I find out that he's transforming my life for a reason so that I can be, and I call myself a bridge, to bridge the gaps in society, that he's giving me the opportunity to see, realize that they're there, number one, and then two, do something about it because how I have walked the earth while I'm here. So that's just one thing. And so I just thought I'd throw that out for you, Dr. Rosa, since you're so passionate about it. There's a reason why you have such passion for the elderly being taken care of. There's a reason why you have such passion for people using real estate to invest, to, help with family, to pull families together and put their money together. There's all kinds of reasons for that. One of the reasons I got into real estate is I thought that, I don't have a job right now because I used to work for a corporation. And when I got laid off, I said, okay, I don't have a job right now, so let me do real estate. But what I found when I started doing real estate, especially in Georgia, when I meet our people, some had a hard time believing the way I was telling them to invest because nobody had ever done that before. The realtors were just taking their money and go. They would put them in a neighborhood and go. They didn't care whether or not the neighborhood was gaining value. So
See,
even then, God could.
It's good they had people like you, and I think we're connecting too, because we're also homegirls. I'm also from Mississippi, okay? And, coming from the South always give you a deep passion for moving because you understand some of the dark days that we have had as people, and people who didn't come from that vantage place. I can see that they don't connect the way I do because it's like they started on the journey in midpoint. It's like I started in the beginning, so I understand the beginning. I caught hold to the midpoint, and I'm living the part right now. But let me, when we talk about moving forward from death, from the grief, and we say because moving forward, you know how people say, but just move forward. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean that. It means choosing to live again, choosing to live in spite of. Because I know for me, one thing that I hold dearly to in my life, whatever I've gone through, I say to people, if I could live without my mother died when I was 5, then I feel like anybody else that come into my life can be cut off and I'm not going to die or I'm not going to have my life turned upside down. So, but during grief, and I'm going to keep my co-hosts, they may have some point, but I want to ask this question. Because during grief, there are people, and I guess I'm posing this to you, Miss Shirley, because of your ministerial background. There come a time that we need to think about who need to really visit those who are in grief, those who are sick, those who are in hospice, those who have lost a loved one. Sometimes there are people that don't need to show up. That's all I'm saying. There are Negroes that don't need to show up. Because once in my life, I was very ill. And this minister came in the room, and he was going to pray for me. So he started praying, Lord, have her to know that she cannot live straddle the fence. I got so mad because I'm trying to say straddle the fence. At that time, I was a real holy roller. I wasn't doing nothing but perfection. So what are you talking about? So in my mind, I'm thinking, what have he heard? What people been saying about me? What do they think I'm doing? So when he left, I was crying. My girlfriend walked in the room. She thought that I was just filled with the Holy Ghost or the Spirit. So she asked me, she said, he was very I said, no, I'm angry. And I told her what he said. Some people, Miss Shirley, don't need to show up at your sick bed.
That's true.
Don't need to show up when you've lost a loved one.
True.
Because when we hear these things, well, God knows best, who wants to hear that?
Nobody.
I think it needs to be a whole book written on how to talk to those who have lost a loved one. I understand. I know what you feel. No, you don't, because you haven't lost your mother. You didn't lose your father. And even if you did, your father may not have meant to you what my father meant to me. So somebody needs to craft a book, because I am sick of these folks talking. I'm going to be nice to you. Come on.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me hear from, hold your thought 1 second.
Okay.
Ricky, what's your point on this? Now, Shirley, hold your thought right there. Keith, what are your points? Because I'm telling you, I'm told my kids I don't want to see them.
Okay. When it comes to grief, I've had to do this. I learned this a long time ago. When it comes to grief and how to get over it and how to help people get over it, okay, what people What normally happens is people focus on the pain and focus on the loss. Okay, because I had to do this for my daughter maybe a couple of months ago, right? Um, Instead of focusing on what you lost, okay, if you had that person in your life, that person was special in your life, focus on what you did get, okay, not what you
The
lost.
memories. The
Yeah,
memories.
because whether that person was in your life for a month, a year, most of your life, okay, what did you get out of that person being in your life? What are the happy moments?
Yeah.
'Cause what I think
Yeah.
my daughter she was crying and she was just boo-hooing, right? I said, okay. I said, number one, I had to take a real deep breath and hold it, right? And center herself. I said, now think of the funniest thing that you two did together, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And remember that. And right after that, she started laughing, and the tears dried up, and she was shaking so hard because she was laughing so hard. And I said, okay, what was it that was so funny, okay? And she all of a sudden, she got up off the ground and dried her tears, and she walked out the door laughing. Okay, the thing is, I said focus on what you have. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because we're taught in America to focus on what we lost, what we don't have
Yeah.
anymore. Okay,
Yeah.
instead of
True.
instead of the precious gift that God gave you by bringing that person into your life.
What did you learn?
What
What
did
can
you
you hold
learn?
on to?
What did you learn? What did you learn? What you get from that person? I said that
Right.
even with somebody that's getting divorced. Okay, you're getting divorced, your wife's leaving. I said, okay. The thing is, what did that person give you? Why that person was with you? Okay.
Yeah.
What you have to do after that is different. The thing is, I tell guys, I said, if you're with a wife, with a woman, with a person, right? Okay, don't focus what the future is. Focus on what you're getting right now.
Yeah, folks, stay in there now.
Because they're staying
Absolutely.
in now. Because if you don't stay in the now, there's no guarantee what's going to happen. Even if that person gets into a car, that's why you have to really focus in on what getting the most out of your experience with that person right now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Ricky, what's your thought? Ricky's my co-host.
Yes, I totally agree with what Keith was saying, and also too, you want to continue to celebrate the person that you lost. Like one of my
Yep.
good friends, she lost her husband, and he passed. He had a heart attack right in front of her, and her father-in-law, and it was very tough for her because they were married for 7 years and they were 30 years old at the time, and that's when he passed at 30 years old, and so she was so devastated because this was her first marriage, and they had a whole planned future. So her bishop told her, I'm gonna refer you to this therapist, blah blah blah, and maybe you should go to kind of help. She didn't want to go, so her godmother said the same thing. When I got to her, I was like, you know what? I said, I think you should go to therapy, but let me kind of help you with why you should go to therapy. I says, we're never taught how to grieve properly someone's death. We're never taught how to mourn someone's death, but we're also never taught on how to keep that person's memory in our life until we pass. I said, go to therapy so you can get the tools on how to live this thing out, because I don't believe that you ever stop grieving. I believe that you continue to master the art of grieving by keeping that memory in your heart and using it as motivation and inspiration to carry on. And so when she did that, she finally did go, and I would say now it's been 5 years, she has learned how to live with it. And guess how she's doing it? She's sharing her testimony with other people on how to move on, and she's being vulnerable. But those are the tools that she learned in therapy. And I told her, I said, like when she was around, she said, Rick, I hope I'm not bugged. I said, no, I want you to talk about your late husband. I want you to talk about him and the things that made you laugh, that made you smile, the things that you remember. I said, keep his memory alive, because that's the motivation that you need to move forward until you're ready to really move forward and pass what happened. I says, don't ever forget it. Remember it so you can use it as motivation to move forward. And then also, too, lastly, help others move on, because God is going to send some people your way who went through similar situations to you, and you want to be a testimony and a source of encouragement for those individuals who might be struggling a little bit more than you, and you can give them that extra boost of confidence and encouragement to move forward.
Yeah. Don't pray for a lighter load. Pray for a stronger back.
Shirley, and let me say this, and then come back to my guest. You're so right about holding on to the good things about that person. we have a call on hold. Caller, we coming right to you. Let me make this point. Hold on to those good things, because I talk so much about my father that people feel like they know him. And my friends sometimes they say, I wish I had Simon in my life. But the good things, I remember when I wanted to do something that everybody else was doing. I came to my father and I told him I wanted to go to this place, and he said I could not go. And I said, well, Daddy, everybody else is going. He said, but everybody else is not my little girl. So I reared my children by that. I have lived by that, to be able to walk in a direction that I've chosen in spite of which way everybody else is going. So those are things that you hold on to. We're going to take a caller that's on hold, and then we coming back and hear from Miss Shirley. Go ahead, callers. Give us your name and where you calling from, and what's your take on the topic. Go ahead, caller. Okay. Going once, going twice. Sometimes we have callers just want to listen. I think their last number is 9185. It may be who that caller is. So you can open your mic and step in. If not, you can jump in when you feel like it. But let's talk about this. What are some of the things, Miss Shirley, that people should not say to a person who's grieving?
Well, first of all, I do agree with everything that Ricky and Keith and yourself have been saying.
Oh,
You
wait,
do.
Miss Shirley, hold 1 second. I forgot to give the number out, too, even though that some people, it's 310-928-7733. 310-928-7733. And you can email us here at innerlight, I-N-N-E-R, innerlightradio@yahoo.com. Go ahead, Miss Shirley.
Okay, well, what I was just saying is that I agree with Ricky, Keith, and yourself that, number one, you need community. However, you pick and choose who that community is. In other words, you're picking and who you're going to listen to. I usually suggest, I think really 2 people can be enough, and those could be people that live in a different state, city, or country that you're just talking to on the phone. You don't have to listen to everyone who has negative things to say about death. The second thing I suggest, too, is that after you have chosen a community to deal with, whatever that community is for you, it could be family, friends, or, peers that you just trust. Another thing that you need to do is also look at how can you help someone else during this time. So one of the things, as I was going through my mother passing away, we had to place her in, Carlton assisted living, where they had to actually turn her twice to every 2 hours. But when I was there, and I went there every day to make sure she was being taken care of, for one thing, but I went there every day, and the other people that were there, they would walk up to me and assumed I worked there and say, well, my daughter or my son could not come because they have to work. So I would end up praying with them, having conversation with them. So find other things to do to help other people. That's another thing we can do. Continue educating yourself. This is not the time to just sit completely and do nothing. But continue to educate yourself, whether it's reading books about loss. That's one of the reasons why I wrote this book that I did, because it's a book where others who have experienced loss, whether they lost their family or whether they went through a divorce or whether they just lost friends or for whatever reason. If they're read a book, how did somebody else get through it? What did they do? What some of the things that they did? Of course, the other things that I would suggest, too, is that I put in book form the things that I experienced with my family. I even wrote down the intimate times that I had with my sister when she was passing, the things that she was saying that I knew only she was hearing from God because I was praying things not out loud, but she was speaking them out of her mouth. So things like that, God was helping me to see she's transitioning. This is what's going on. Are you ready to accept it? She has accepted it. There were things that I was learning even with my mother and my father passing, my brother passing. I paid attention to every minute of the day. Every time I was with them, I was listening. And that's something that I think is so important for all of us. Listen to others. Listen to God. You have to be quiet in order to listen. And so I think that's real key, that we learn to listen, because that's one of the ways that God can help move us forward too. And then go and try new adventures. Do different things that maybe you haven't done before. I was fortunate in that I had friends who said, hey, look, we're about to take a cruise. You need to get away. Why don't you come on the cruise? And I was so glad that they did that, but I had time to think. I was in a room by myself. I could get up and watch the sun. I could appreciate, seeing the sun rising in the day or setting at night, or see the mountains. And so things like that, you need to get around environments where you can hear God and also listen to others who want to give you positive advice, because you're absolutely right. You do not want to hear, I know how you feel, because it's impossible to know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shirley, let's take a call. The last number is 2390 from a 323 area code. Go ahead, caller. The 323, last number is 2390.
My name is Geraldine Pierce, and basically I'm just listening. But I did have an experience with my mother who passed on. I don't want to start crying because
it's okay.
I do miss her, but when she transitioned peacefully. Every day I used to take care of her, and I took care of her for 5 years before she passed. And on the night that she passed, I used to come into the room every night just to sit with her until she would go to sleep. And this one particular night, I came into the room, and I have my computer in the room, and she was resting. She was really resting. And then I heard a noise that I was so unfamiliar with, and I called out to her. I said, Jack, are you okay? And she paused for a couple of seconds, and then in a very loud voice, she said, yes, I'm okay. After that, I went to bed. The next morning when I woke up, she was gone. Me and my husband, we laid in bed for a while, and she normally calls me in the morning, every morning when she woke up. This particular morning, she didn't call me, and she was in the bed just a little bit later than normal. And my husband said, you better get up. You better go check on her. So what I did, I came into the room, and again, she had passed. I felt her arm. It was cold, but she transitioned very peacefully. I have all memorable, joyful memories of her presence here in my house. We traveled. She died when she was 91 years old. She lived a very full life. And within those 5 years, I tried to give her as much attention as I possibly could. And both me and my husband took her everywhere we went, everywhere. And she enjoyed her life.
And that's what's important. Yeah. And you know what? Yeah. I think the thing that you will always hold on to is those final words she said when you asked was she okay? And she said yes. I bet you will never forget those words.
I'll never forget it. Those are the last words she spoke. I'll never forget. But thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Tears are always in order, okay? There's nothing wrong with tears. So just thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a memorial. She used to sit in the dining room, and I still have her picture that she took one Christmas, and that picture was so lifelike, and I hung on to it, and now it sits at the place where she used to sit. And when I walk past it every day, I say good morning to her. So it's actually still here with me.
What's the funniest thing on a road trip that she ever said to you?
She was a very quiet person. She really didn't talk a lot, but it was just some of her, the way she looked, the way she smiled, all those things I remember. And I'm looking at a picture as we speak, and she's got a big smile on her face.
Okay,
it was just a quick picture that we took together. Yeah, she's all over my house, believe me.
Wow. Yeah. So these are things that, go ahead, Miss Shirley.
Do you ever have dreams about any of your relatives who've passed on?
Oh, my God, when she passed, I'm trying to recall. Oh, this is what happened. After she passed, my husband, he was outside working on his car. I was in the house, and I had my vacuum cleaner in the back room getting ready to vacuum. That vacuum cleaner turned on all by itself. So I called my husband, but he was so far away he couldn't see or couldn't hear anything that was going on. So I let that go. But during when we had her repass, I wasn't going to tell anybody that, because I believe that they come back, but it's through electricity that they come back to let you know that they're here with you. You just can't see them. Anyway, my girlfriend, she was sitting in the back room where the same vacuum cleaner turned on the first time, and I never turned that vacuum cleaner on. So I wasn't going to tell anybody, but my girlfriend was sitting back there, and so was my grandson. And I went and I started telling the story. Believe it or not, that vacuum cleaner came on again. So I know her presence
was there. It's interesting. I believe that people would really like to talk about the experience of those who have gone on before us, but you don't want people to think you're crazy. Because
exactly.
they don't. Because you know what? As I mentioned, you all, that my mother died when I was 5, and up until I think it was over about 21. Every time I was troubled in my life, she showed up. It was like an angel would show up in the corner of my room, and every time that happened, then I was relieved of whatever I was going through. I didn't tell anybody about it for years. And I probably was in my 50s or 60s, and I was sharing it with my baby sister. And she had a strange look on her face. She said, that's the same thing happened to me. That angel would always show up in the corner of the room. So I want people to know it's okay to talk about things like that, because it's really is real. Yeah.
That's why I asked if you had any dreams. One of the things I do when I lose people that are close to me, I will ask God, can you give me a dream? I want to know that they are okay. Every time. Every time he's done it. I remember my father, after my father passed, I said, can you give me a dream? And I was asleep. And in my dream, I dreamed that I had a couch in my master bedroom, and I was asleep, and I was awakened because sitting on the couch was my father. Now, this is in a dream. And he was sitting next to somebody, but I couldn't see who it was. So I said, Daddy, because I was shocked. I'm in the dream still. Daddy, I didn't know that you were here. And he was so happy. He was happier than I had ever seen him. And so he says, don't worry about me. And I had a dream about my sister at that time, which I was disturbed about the dream that happened. And it was as if Daddy knew. So he says, don't worry about your sister. Keep your eyes on him. He got up off the couch, walked around behind the person sitting there. That's when I could see it was Jesus. And I said to my father, "Go on with your bad self. You're sitting up there with Jesus." And so after that dream, I never worried about my father anymore. When my sister was about to die, I didn't realize, because, see, this is why you have to listen. She was telling me, "Thank you, there in the hospital." And I was like, "Oh, thank you. I mean, I should be thanking you because you've been so good with me and my children and, you know, all of that." And I didn't know she was telling me bye. I didn't know she was saying that. But in hindsight, now that I've reflected on it, that's what she was trying to say. I'm telling you bye. I don't want to say bye, but I'm telling you I'm leaving.
And these
so
are things. These are things that I'm sure that you have held on to, And it's critical that we have these conversations about, you know, life after death. And, you know, we'll do a show on just before death. That's going to be a great show because I have worked with patients in hospice, and that's a very critical moment because we tend not, even after someone dies, I think the greatest problem is we don't know how to listen and let them express themselves. Sometimes people feel like they have to just be talking to you. They'll come to see you when you're sick or when you grieve. I don't need your conversation. I just need to know you're there. Maybe you can just sit in the chair and read a book. People tend to think that you need conversation. And folks, sometimes after death, a person's mind is so cluttered. They're not clear. You're talking, just like now, someone loses a loved one. Here's someone come to see them, and you want to talk about Trump. I'm just making it plain, because folks are just that do stuff just that stupid, okay? They don't want to hear about politics. They don't want to hear about Trump right now. They don't, sometimes they don't want to hear nothing, but they just want to know that your presence. Folks, listen. Sometimes you just need to be present. You don't need all that talk, and if you don't know what to say, let's don't say anything. Just let the person know I'm here. You know, even when a person is about to leave this earth, you might want to ask them, is there anything that you would like to say to someone that you didn't get a chance to say it? Maybe you can't see them face to face. Is it something you would like to write down? These are conversations that people like to have, but when people are grieving, they don't need to hear about how you got over it. You know, they need for you to allow them to go through the process. Please let them go through the process. Okay, go ahead, my guest.
Dr. Another reason why I said, listen, I remember when my brother was transitioning, he said, and this is so interesting because the same day the day before my brother died, I had a dream that my sister came to the house. I was in the house kitchen. In the dream, I was in the kitchen cooking, and my sister just appeared. She was looking beautiful, happy, just looked wonderful. And I said, "Oh, you're here. You're back." And she said, "Yes." And I said, "But I've given away all your clothes." And so she said, "I don't need clothes." And she goes back in the house and she brings out this beautiful, what I thought was an armoire, beautiful wooden armoire. And then I woke up. I was like, what was that all about? Well, later I called to Mississippi because my brother was still living in Mississippi to check on him. And I was told that he said, the angels are here. And they just thought, nothing of that. And I said, he said, what? He said, the angels are here. And then they said, you know what? He was talking to your sister last night. Well, what's interesting about that, I see my sister in a dream. I wanted to go to Mississippi, but I ended up with the flu. And my mother didn't want me to come because she didn't want me to give germs to my brother because he had cancer and he was dying. And so she said, well, she was still hoping that things were going to turn around. So she said, if you come, you're going to give him the flu. And so I had to cancel my reservation. This is how I see this. I see this as my sister coming with an armoire-looking thing, which turned out to be my brother's coffin. I saw it at his funeral. she was coming to, okay, I gotta help your brother, since you can't go, I'm gonna be there. And I thought it's no accident that the next person he was talking to after he said the angels are here, it was my sister.
Wow. Shirley, go ahead. When you make that point, I'm gonna bring you back to our closing with your with the new nuggets. I'm gonna take nuggets from both co-hosts, and I'm gonna take nuggets from you.
Okay. Well, the last one I wanted to talk about is when my father was transitioning. He could no longer see people standing in front of his bed, but he was talking to his mother and father and cousin as if they were in the room. Then he said, "Come on, Reverend Gibson." That was another cousin, which didn't make sense. I said, well, these three people are dead, but I don't understand why he's telling Reverend Gibson to come on. What we learned later is that Reverend Gibson was in a coma, and Reverend Gibson chose to go on to heaven. So it was as if my father's still living, but he can't physically see people, but he was seeing his mother, his father, and his other cousin, and he tells the other cousin, "Come on, like this is wonderful. Come on." And we were trying to figure that out, like, well, whatever, he's experiencing peace and wonder, we can see that. But we didn't understand why the Reverend Gibson. Well, it's because Reverend Gibson was in a coma, and he did not come out of his coma. So it was as if he joined him.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed as a hospice nurse. When people are making transition, they begin to call and talk to people who have gone on, their mother, their father. So, if you're around someone who's very ill, and they start doing that, many times they're approaching that close. So as we talk today about nuggets, about moving forward after death of your loved one. So we want you to, this show is going to air again tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But we want you to leave this show understanding that it's not forgetting, it's about remembering that helps you go forward. Moving forward doesn't mean you're forgetting. It means you're choosing to live again, and you're choosing to live again with their memories. And hopefully, if you have loved ones, that you have good memories, and those are the ones that you hold on to. But I would be remiss to say that there are those you may lose as loved ones. Some people say, well, I can't think of anything good. I bet you, if you think back, I don't think there's anyone that walked this planet that you can't find one good thing they did if it was no more than they stayed away from you. If no more than they stayed away from you, okay? So if that's a good thing, laugh about that. Say, he gave everybody in the family trouble, but he didn't. He stayed away from me. You can find something good in every situation. So I'm going to say to you that life after death, moving forward, doesn't mean that you're forgetting these people, but you're looking at what spot they fill in your life. If there's a void, try to fill that void and go forward with life. Don't get caught up with what other people feel and what they think, because no one can tell you how you feel. Well, you shouldn't be grieving that long. Your mom been dead 5 years. There are people silly enough to say things like that to you. But that is your process. These are the people that you want to just get out of your life. So, Keith, I'm going to have my guest to give the last nugget. I want Keith to give a nugget. And Ricky, I want you to give a nugget.
Yeah, it's a funny thing about dreams, because my grandmother did the same thing before she died. She came to say goodbye, and I knew she had died before the phone call came. So, yeah, that happens all the time, because we're all connected. And the thing is, and the way we connect is through our dreams, if we listen. But most of we actually don't listen. So, yeah, that happens all the time. And
Have you heard wisdom from her since she passed? Because there are people, when we say call on the ancestors, you guys,
hmm
that's real. I'm telling you, you can really call on the ancestors when you're in deep trouble, deep thought, and you will get a revelation if you're in tune.
it happens all the time, and sometimes you have to go back and ask, what did it mean? Okay, because sometimes if you're in crisis or something's going on in your life, that God will send you that person in a dream to talk to you as an avatar and
Right.
tell you where you're good and going wrong. Like sometimes they'll tell you that you don't belong here. Like so, I've gotten into like you're on a road trip, you're getting ready to get into a car, and that person said you can't come with me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting ready to go.
That's,
You can't take this trip with me. It's not your time.
folks,
So it
that's
happens. It happens
real.
all the time. Yeah.
That's real, and that's not AI talking. That's God. Okay.
hmm
Come on, Ricky. Come on, Ricky. Give us some nuggets.
Yes, yes. Well, I could just speak just from my experience. My grandmother, I lost her 4 years ago, and she prophesied in my life since I was a kid, and I didn't understand a lot of things she said until she passed, and that's when I started to recall. Like I said, I just finished my book, and I actually dedicated the book to her because she prophesied things that were going to happen. And I was like, well, whatever, Grandma. Like in my mind, I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But as time went along, the prophecy started to manifest, and I started to understand certain sayings that she was saying. And believe it or not, in dreams as well as in situations, that voice rings in my head. The thoughts that she would tell me, the things she would prophesy, and then I can hear her saying, "Baby, what did I tell you? I told you this," and it's crazy because I'm like, my grandmother's words are still relevant today, and because of the memories that are in my heart, I will always carry that with me because I understand what she was saying now because I'm now mature enough to handle it.
Wow. And Ricky is going to be on that floor, you guys. He's going to be there Saturday, April 26th at Black Writers on Tour. He's going to be there unveiling his new book. He just had a new baby. He's going to be there unveiling, and you want to be there. We're talking about 100 authors, 50 vendors, all under one roof, folks. This is the
Yeah.
largest culture event for Southern California, and you want to be there, I'm telling you. To our guests, Miss Shirley. I can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see you, Miss Shirley. And
Well, I'm
we're
looking forward.
excited about you coming. You want to give us a closing nugget also?
Well, I will say this. When I was 10 years old, my great-grandmother came to visit us. She was 92 years old. I was washing dishes in the kitchen, and my mother was ironing while she was talking to my great-grandmother. And my great-grandmother just stopped everything and said, Jessie May, that was my mother's name. Jessie May, mark my word, that's a missionary in there, talking to me. I had no idea what my life was going to be. And so that's in my book as well, because everything in the book I try to capture great-grandmother, great-grandfather, grandmother, grandfather, and it was therapeutic writing this and putting down information and the wisdom and revelation that I got from my forefathers and mothers. I think that is so key for everybody on the planet. Document in writing information about your forefathers and what nuggets and what revelation you got from them in life. And that's my closing statement there is it is so important to document your family.
And as I sit here, Shirley, that is so powerful. You all have brought us some wonderful things. In other words, hold on to the memories of the one that you've lost. Hold on to the things that make you smile. It doesn't mean you're going to forget about the thing that made you angry, that made you wish they had left before they left. I did say that. I sure did. I sure did. That's just what I said. There are those that you can celebrate their exit. Don't call up here talking. You shouldn't have been saying that. Y'all know y'all got some folks in that family that when y'all heard they were gone, you did a hallelujah. But However, help those who are grieving. That focus on the good thing about that person. And Shirley and Keith and Ricky, when you all mention about grandparents, you guys know how sentimental I get. I'm too old to be so sentimental, about to cry about everything. I guess that's what you do when you get old, you know. My heart went out because I thought about this generation don't have the grandmothers we had.
That's true.
What
That's
a
very
miss. You guys,
That's
what
true.
a miss.
That's
What a void in a person's life who does not have that grandmother that we are talking about. That's why you all are strong today. That's why you are where you are, because you can always remember. Kids seem to remember more of what grandmama said to them than what their mother or father said to them. That is the key person in our lives. So what I'm saying to those who are listening, you may have someone in your church, in your community, that doesn't have that grandmother. Can you step up and be a God grandmother? They need us. They need our wisdom. So let's help our community by stepping up. Saying, you know what, I want to be, you know, we have a lot of godmothers. It's time to step up and have some God grandmothers. So they really do need us. Children would say things to grandmama that they won't talk to their mother about. And we have to keep secret. Some of them we don't keep, but we don't let the kid know we didn't keep it. But we have to tell the parents, now you cannot divulge this because this is what they said to me. We're going to have a whole show on how to be a good grandmother, when not to cross the line, how to reveal secret without telling the secret when it's something to help your grandchild. We got a lot of shows to do, don't we?
Yes, I think so.
And we're going to do it. So those who've been listening, Clock on the Wall said that's all. Miss Shirley, I thank you so much. Ricky, I thank you so much. Keith,
Thank you.
I thank you so much, you guys. We're in a healing spot here at the Express Yourself Hour. We're bringing talk to the table that other people dare not talk about. We're bringing those issues that's dear to the heart. We're bringing those issues that's troubling people, that's holding them back, that's blocking that creative energy that they can be released to go ahead and do what God called them to do. So I want to thank you all so much and see you next week. And April 26th is going down, you guys. It's going down at Carson Community Center from 10 to 3 p.m. 100 authors on the floor. They having these babies. These authors, we have 6 new authors that have birthed their book, baby. Folks, we got pregnant folks all over now because they're mad. They're saying, you don't want me to write? You don't want me to tell my story? Well, here it is. Boom. And I'm the OBGYN, and I am delivering those book babies every day. You guys have a great day. I'll see you on the next show, and then you will hear what I have to say. Have a great day. Thank you, Shirley. Thank Ricky. Thank Keith. You guys have a great one.